Good morning. Technically, still 5 minutes to go before 12. I hope you had a good networking session. There was a small glitch in terms of the schedule, but I think it's all sorted out, so we can now get started. A lot has been spoken about digital transformation. Right from morning, you heard from practitioners, you heard from technology vendors, and it's a pretty large field. So there's so many aspects of digital transformation. What we are going to touch upon in the next 15 minutes is one of the very critical pillars of this transformation, which is around automation. And again, automation is big, and you've been hearing from Cisco for their piece of automation. You will hear from Tufin. They will talk about security automation. But what we are going to talk about is, again, something specific, which is around processes. My name is Anshuman. I'm Senior Director Sales at UiPath. You do not have much about what UiPath is, but I think for all of you, what I have captured or what I'm trying to capture in the next 15 minutes is more about the RPA, what it is, how the journey is, how people are using, use cases, etc. So small capsule, 12, 13 minutes. I hope you enjoy the session. So pretty much all BFSI practitioners. Now, we spoke about so many things about agility. We spoke about things around automation. We spoke about so many things. But if you summarize it, what's the driver? I think these three are the key drivers in case of financial services. So all of you who are doing projects, if you look back, sit back, and just retrospect, whatever projects are happening, even if you look at what YONO was, it will be around these three C's, which are cost pressure. So everybody wants to ensure that the costs are in control. Whatever we do is around customer. So either it is about customer experience, retaining customer, getting more customer. That's the revenue side. And especially in financial services, you have an RBI, you have an IRDA, you have an AMFI, NSEs, the compliance and regulation. So pretty much you look at any of the projects, I would say 90% of them will fill in this category. And because of this, there is a whole lot of investment or a whole lot of spend that happens around the processes side, right? And that's, if you look at any of the insurance company or the banking organization, I'm told that almost like 40% of the staff is actually directly or indirectly associated with doing processes, right? So that's the automation that we are going to talk about, and that's the theme of the discussion. Okay, now costs towards processes is not new. It's everybody knows. It has been around for a long time, and people have been attempting to optimize it. So as I said, RPA is not new. Approach to reducing cost is not new. So if you look at what are the approaches people have taken, they can be broadly divided into two categories. So one is the category which is the cost arbitrage side. That's where people went in for BPOs, people went in for shared services. Folks outside the country brought in setups here in low-cost infrastructure countries. So all that has been happening, but pretty much it's somewhere reached its zenith, and that's where the parallel thing of optimizing processes through technology is now taking over. Now, what do? You will keep on hearing from people. You heard from Solas what they do in terms of making things seamless. You heard from Cisco what they do on the security side, but still we all know that there is a lot of processes which are broken, a lot of integrations still do not happen, and primarily because FSI has a lot of legacy, so changing things, so that's the reason fintechs have an advantage. But for the traditional organizations, changing is not that easy, and that's where an RPA comes into picture. Where do we go from there? You heard from everybody, you heard from Mr. Rao, when we are talking about the Digital 2.0, from there you move towards cognitive, you move towards making automation, bots, all more intelligent. Right? So before we get into what all you can do, and I know quite a few of the people in the room would be on the journey of automation, but still I think it's a good idea to start off with what RPA is. In simple terms, RPA is an approach or technology or methodology by which we deploy software bots to mimic human actions and make the interaction between different applications, right? So that work right now is being done by human beings. So you're probably extracting information, dumping it here, extracting information, generating it into some kind of tables, or simple monitoring of IT, everything where there is a human being which is interacting with the machine. When you automate that using bots, that's what is robotic process automation. Now, RPA has been around for some time. I would say almost like 8 to 10 years RPA has been there, but it's mature now. And why it is getting a lot of traction and why it is getting a lot of attention, and you heard Mr. Rao in the previous presentation that he was like pretty happy with what he has been able to achieve with the limited automation that they have done. I think there are a couple of key features with what RPA brings. The most important feature, in my opinion, is the ability to automate or ability to integrate, ability to make application A speak to application B without disruption. So we are really not getting into Finacle, we are not getting into life Asias, we are not getting into the nucleuses of the world. We sit on top of it and make this integration happen. So that's one thing. Because of that, what does that result into? That results into quicker deployment, faster ROI. And that's something businesses love, that's something management clearly loves, right? Apart from that, typical advantages of bots will obviously be there in terms of flexibility, in terms of scalability, in terms of elasticity. So for example, you have a peak and you want to add probably 15, 20, 30, 40 human beings. Trust me, it's a pain to go recruit, train, and get them onboarded, right? Whereas in case of a bot, the elasticity is so much higher. Getting in, getting out, all these things are really, it's really elastic. So these are the critical choices or critical reasons why RPA is getting momentum. How does it look in terms of numbers? There's some numbers from Forrester where we are talking about a 63% CAGR, which is definitely phenomenal. So we're talking of industry hitting a $3 billion, right? Right now, if you ask me from an adoption standpoint, definitely West leads the adoption. But clearly, the amount of excitement we are seeing in Indian market, I think it's phenomenal. So, important question. Let's get into some of the use cases, how customers are using RPA. I think broadly, the way we see RPA adoption can be divided into two categories. So one will be the horizontal use cases, which are across finance, accounting, HR, etc. And then there are business-specific use cases. Now, RPA becomes very important for financial services, mainly because there are enough number of business use cases which can be automated through RPA. Now, won't spend too much of time on use cases, but just a quick, just have a look at it. So if you see, these are the vertical use cases. So you go to an HR department, right? So if you have, even if you have automated or outsourced a part of your HR part, but there's a lot of work that still happens in your organization. Payroll processing, onboarding, trainings. These are some of the processes which are pretty common, wherein you have people, it takes time for them to process, mistakes do happen, very, very rule-based processes, good candidates for optimization. IT for BFSI is definitely very big. You all run large data centers, a lot of people operating, pretty much all the mundane jobs with respect to management, with respect to your backup automation, with respect to your EOD, BOD, very clearly you can look at exploring an RPA. Primary reason is there are very expensive tools available in the market, but they all go right under the element managers. You have to go, you have to integrate with those element managers, and then the entire story of automation works in an IT. Whereas we work on top of it, and that's the reason, one example I keep giving everybody is a DF minus K or LS minus L is exactly the same, irrespective of the version of Unix that you use, right? Finance and accounting, very popular for us. And customer services, a lot of work our partners have done around contact center automation. Again, the whole idea is to improve the customer experience, improve the time it takes when we as a customer call up a bank or an insurance company. So a lot of automation can be done through the bots, and solutions are ready. Quite an eye chart, but this is the work that as UiPath we have done. This is a typical banking structure if you see, and entire gamut if you see, be it retail, wholesale, corporate banking, there are use cases. If you look at it, we can actually pick up use cases which are candidates for automation. Similarly, if you get into the insurance side, the entire life cycle, right from your proposal to selling a policy, from there to collecting premium, policy administration, claim settlement, pretty much everywhere you will find a use case. And this is something which what we have seen is when customers get into it, they put in few bots, they automate something, that's when they start realizing the power of automation. That's where they start realizing that a lot more can be done with the technology. Now, getting started, right? So RPA is journey. We don't call it RPA as a project. It's not like putting a loan origination system which has finite timelines, finite outcomes, and finite set of people it touches. It's a journey. And when I say journey, that means you start off, you may want to start off small, and then it's like a Six Sigma, you know, so you just keep improving. It's all about cost reduction. It's all about optimization. So optimizations never stop. So you just keep on doing it. Our approach or our recommendation to our customers is always think big. You can start small, but you should always have a larger picture in mind, and that helps in the overall projects to succeed. How do customers get started? Very standard. We pick up some use cases. Customers sometimes want to see whether it will run in their environment or not. You run a POC. From there, you move to pilot. Pilot's actually complete production, but it's in a controlled environment. And from there, you move on to production. Honestly, starting this journey is easy. Sustaining, improving, that's where the real skills are, and that's where people like us, and our partners, we come handy. When you have to take the automation journey from a pilot to a real production. So we have customers worldwide who are actually doing 300, 400, 1,000 bots also. A large bank in Japan is actually using 1,000 bots, and that's really true enterprise scale. So, okay, 2 minutes I have. Very quickly, I think as practitioners, very important decision for you, since you represent, a large part of you represent the IT side of it, is to decide and look at what tools to choose. And that's where, again, this is not a UiPath slide, but this is something which we have learned from you guys, which we have learned from the customers worldwide. These are the top parameters on which people are evaluating. And when I started that RPA is maturing, the first point actually summarizes that. People are not looking automation as like a small project. People are looking at it as an enterprise scale. And that's the reason management, security, these features come in right at the top. You, again, go back to my second slide where we were talking about the journey. So cognitive and AI capabilities become very, very important. So whenever you evaluate a technology, look at it, what's the roadmap, how it integrates with the various AI engines, what's their own ML story. So this is important. And the last but not the least, the most important thing is the ease of use. A tool is only as good as you can use it, right? So that's a very important parameter. And when I say ease of use, it's about technology, it's about resources. It's about the availability of resources in the market, the number of partners who are working with that technology. So these are the 3-4 things on which people evaluate RPA, and I think that's what should be one big takeaway for you when you go and do your evaluations. Finally, just to let you know who we are, what UiPath is. So we are a leading provider of RPA. Very clearly, we are riding the wave of RPA. If you see 3 digits growth in terms of revenue, in terms of customer, very, very well funded in terms of investors. So we have people like Capital G and KPCB who have invested in us. So we are already into Series B funding. A very, very large community of developers is what we have developed because of something called as academy.uipath.com. So if you go and just throw it in the market, you want to get some RPA skills, probably 6 to 7 out of 10 would be on UiPath. And that's one big community that we have developed. 700 people. And most importantly, in India, we are 125 people. We do not do development, so we have 125 people completely dedicated to customers in India and South Asia. So that's pretty much from me. Finally, an invitation to all of you. July, we are doing an event, UiPath Together, that's in JW Marriott Sahar. So happy to see you there. That's when we will, this won't be a 15-minute discussion. It will be much longer. You'll have much more detailed conversations. So, yeah, that's it from me. Thank you very much.